Self-tapering is self-destruction. What's up, guys? Welcome to tonight's video. Tonight I wanted to discuss something that a lot of people do, and it's a technique that a lot of people use. If you have raced in any sort of sport in the past, maybe you come from a running background or a swimming background, you are going to be well aware of the term tapering. For those of you who have not come from that background and you are unfamiliar with that term, tapering is typically the 1 to 2 weeks, depending on your race distance, prior to the main event, where you start to dial back your training so that your body can recover. You're going to have your peak fitness, and then after that peak fitness, you can begin that taper so that at the end of the taper, you are primed and ready to give that race your all. That is the idea behind it, and the taper period really depends on the athlete, and it also depends on the race distance. So if you are going into a sprint distance race, typically you may only need a few days to taper beforehand. Some people may only taper 2 to 3 days beforehand, up to an Olympic distance. Some people may only taper a few days. Some people may go as long as a week. Half Ironman distance, definitely looking at probably about a week worth of a taper, and then for the full iron distance racing, you could be tapering almost up to 2 weeks. For the marathon, half marathon, you're probably going to be striving for around the same, so that maybe week-ish taper mark for the half marathon. Depending on your fitness, your experience level, you may be doing a 2-week taper for a full marathon. You may not. Though, if you are working with a coach, your coach is going to work with you and going to determine what the best period of time for a taper is going to be. If you are working by yourself, it's going to kind of be up to you. You're going to have to try it out a little bit and see. Do know that you want to kind of balance it out between not tapering too much, but still tapering enough to be at your peak for that big race. So the one thing, if you are working with a coach, the one thing that someone told me a very long time ago that I still remember to this day is self-tapering is self-destruction. And what I mean by that is, if your coach puts a workout in your schedule that you think is too hard to be going before a race, you would skip that workout, maybe dial that workout back, or just tweak it to however you feel is going to be the best. And that would be considered self-tapering. Now, in my experience, if you are working with a coach, and especially if you've been working with a coach for a long time, your coach is going to know you, and he or she will probably know you better than you may know yourself sometimes. So for me, just this past Sunday, I raced the Broad Street Run. This race for me was not an A race. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. But for me, it was not an A race. And so Friday, I had an hour and 15-minute run, which actually ended up being, it came out to be just a little over 8 miles. That was 2 days before the race. And I wasn't pumped about doing that workout, but I knew that I wasn't going to have a long bike on Saturday, so my coach was trying to still get the fitness in, and I trusted him. I knew what he knew, and so I just went with it. Oddly enough, Sunday I was exactly 1 minute off of my PR time at that race. And to kind of make it, I don't know, better or worse, that 1 minute was spent peeing in the porta potty at mile 5 or 6, somewhere there. So the point is, your coach knows you, and you should not be self-tapering. Now, if you do not have a coach and you are trying to figure out your taper for yourself, there's 2 things that you need to keep in mind. Number 1, you should theoretically only be tapering, a full taper, for your A race, maybe once to twice per season. You are not going to be able to do a full-blown taper like that for every single race that you race in a season. For those of you who are racing multiple races, I'm talking 3, 4, maybe 5 different races throughout the season. You're not going to be able to do a full taper for that for each race. And the second thing is, and this is where most people get the taper wrong, taper week does not mean that you are simply kicking back on the couch, watching your favorite cartoons, and just hanging out for the week leading up to the race. You should still be doing some workouts during that week. They should be short workouts, they should be quick workouts, they should be speed focused, high cadence on the bike, maybe some track intervals, not super long ones, but some short, maybe 400s to 800s early in the week, and then some short, really picking up that cadence for the run, picking up the cadence for the bike, and just really keeping the legs moving for the week. So if you are an athlete, a self-coached athlete, who has been struggling with the taper, those are 2 things that you want to keep in mind. You can't taper for every single race. And taper week does not mean just kicking your feet up on the couch and hanging out for the rest of the week. So that is my thoughts and my experiences with the taper. If you have your own thoughts or experiences with the taper that you would like to share, please leave them in the comments below. Please hit the thumbs up button for me. I really appreciate that, and it helps my reach with these videos. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.